It's 3 in the morning on Tuesday. I thought this would be a pretty good time to do. Like, I can't sleep, man. So maybe we'll do feels about like 10 minutes. I don't think I can possibly like summarize all the good things, basically all the good Bucks related things that have been going on the last couple of weeks. But like, this is what I wanted, you know. This I imagine maybe I'll lapse back into being like I told you so kind of stuff, but it's not really about any one particular genius being right. But like, this is better. Can we like agree that this has been better? Or perhaps even so by the time you listen to this, it's early Tuesday morning. Perhaps the Bucks will lose 2 out of 3, or perhaps we'll go on a skid. But like, this was the idea. The idea was to raise our floor, and it's been a weird kind of thing for everybody, which nobody thought Kuzma was anything but like a kind of average, below average-ish kind of basketball player. And the guy came in with a great attitude and is trying to be like our Dennis Rodman. And so far, it's the returns have been incredible. I will get this prediction out now. I think Kuz. I've had a feeling the whole time that Kuz was going to lose us a playoff game with his free throw shooting. And everybody, including me, I'll say it privately because I'll through clenched fists. I'll say Chris would have made those free throws, and whoever says that'll be right. And I think still on balance, it'll be way better for us. And our floor is raised, which means our ceiling is raised to me, which is like not like it's a frustration that a lot of us have had the whole time, where it's like there's rebounding roles going back to like Brook Lopez, going back to the Nets. There was like a SI article or some article where it was just kind of known that Brook Lopez doesn't get the rebounds. He just boxes out. And so, as everyone knows, when Giannis is being a little bit lazy or someone can't get to the ball or on the second or third rebounding action, we just watch Brook Lopez being like, I'm doing my job. I'm being a mountain and blocking one guy, and like 2 and 3 other guys went and got the rebound. And we don't have to worry about that anymore when Kuz was on the floor, because Kuz was flying in out of nowhere. And it's a lot better. I think it makes for better crowds. There's just one more guy jumping on the floor. It's cool. Like, it's the best version. It's like is he 6? They was call him 6'10". I think he's probably still 6'9", but whatever. He looks really big on TV. But it's a 6'10" guy doing the version of stuff that sometimes Bledsoe could do or sometimes Drew could do. And we're always, to me, we've always been more successful. There are Bucks versions that are based on we got all these other guys, and then Kyle Korver's hot, or like Grayson Allen's hot, and then we're gonna win because we got like that fourth shooter, or that extra other player, somebody else is hot. Yeah. How can I so? I haven't done a podcast because I've just been really happy. And me being really happy doesn't really make me want to like videocast or podcast, whatever we're calling this. I'm just happy. It's just been great. I've just enjoyed watching the games. I've just been enjoying just all these games. And it needs to be said, I'm going to try not to mention he shall not be named. Actually, there's no way I'm not doing that. But, build him a statue, build him whatever. You guys can build him anything you want. Put him on the Mount Rushmore, whatever. He's gone and we're winning. He's gone and we're winning. And the irony of, I don't know if this got debunked in the same kind of way where I don't know if Giannis had a best man. If it is true that we couldn't trade Portis because he was on Toradol or whatever. And that's the only reason. Because all the spin, like you expected the Bucks, like the Bucks are going to have classy spin when they have to trade like a 12-year guy or however many years it was with Chris Middleton. They're going to be classy about it. But I got the feeling they really still weren't trying to trade him. And like afterwards, the comments came off like spin saying, well, people weren't happy that he wasn't playing once he was cleared and people were kind of sick of his act. But still, they bent over so backwards to say horse saying I've got a Chris. Unprofessional, in my opinion. Unprofessional to be like, I have a. How about you win games? Don't tell us about how you got a Chris Middleton jersey in your house or whatever. But hey, whatever. He mirrors the fans with all of that, and is the only reason we've entered into this new like panacea is because like they couldn't move Portis instead. If so, marvelous. And I do think it's fair. I do think it's fair for anyone who's saying, quit blaming this on Chris. It's Chris and Portis is gone. Yeah, those terms are fine too. That's fine. I said 2 years running that there's no way we could have a team with Dame and Bobby and Brooke and Chris playing defense. And we got 2 out of the way, and then we're getting a much better Brooke a lot of the time, although as everyone noticed, not all the time. But, dog, we've been in every game. We've been in every game, and I've enjoyed every game. Warriors loss was an enjoyable loss. I was doing something for most of the Rockets game, but I watched that on my phone and right down to the wire. We've been right down to the wire. We beat teams this entire time. You know. Beat the Nuggets without Middleton. Beat the Wolves without Middleton. Beat the what did I already say? Nuggets. I mean, beat OKC earlier beat the Clippers. Like we beat these teams without Chris. And that's basically been the story of the last 12 years. So like, moving on. The Bucks Twitter thing. Kind of all the bad actors have kind of lost their minds because they played themselves with like trying to be the guy to be like, I love him the most. And then you've noticed some of those people have deleted those tweets where they basically blame this all on Jimmy Haslam or this is cost cutting. The Bucks have entered their cost cutting phase and all this. And those people deleted those tweets because they made them look foolish, and attack me or whatever. But hey. So there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of backpedaling. I thought the most honest tweet was from somebody we all know, which is why I kind of always he's been like an arch frenemy or arch nemesis. Is the tweet was something like, if the Bucks got more efficient by adding inefficient players, and it shows that I don't understand basketball, which was like, yeah. But I thought that was a very honest and interesting and entertaining tweet. So that kind of went on. And then people were also trying to do the see, the thing about me is like, I don't feel like I ever go too far. So other people were saying that Chris, like, it is funny that he didn't tweet for 10 days. Like, how are you going to be like, thank you, Milwaukee, so much later? Like, that's the thing back in the day you put in the Journal Sentinel, like, the next day. Dude was mad, like, clearly. So, clearly he was mad, and obviously, like, the easy joke to make from there is, like, he took 9 load management days before he tweeted about getting traded, which is a funny joke, but honestly, I didn't feel like there was a Zarsky column and there was a name column and a lot of the same tidbits in both. But I don't actually, jokes aside, have any problem like with any of that, because the thing we have to always remember is Chris is a bad communicator and a mumbly mouth Southern guy. And so if you ask me, like if I get fired today and I have a lot of good things to say about this job, but it's been 12 years, but I'm salty. Eventually, you're going to get some sideways like quotes out of me if somehow I'm interviewed for getting fired. And that's exactly what that was. I didn't feel like anything that came out of that was anything that should be criticized, really. And people were like, look at what he's saying, or people were doing like, well, yeah, Chris, you can't play, so of course they moved. He was trying to be classy. He was trying to be classy. Of course, he's, I forget even what the quote was, but none of that stuff. I thought all that stuff was fair and fine. Which brings us to Lillard. Shockingly, in the middle of all of this, I asked the very simple question. It's begging the question by putting up the poll, but I thought it was a very obvious question where it's like, all right, Lillard, but the point of the poll was, would we win a title if we had Curry instead of Dame? And I guess I made this and Curry was having 56 points, but that wasn't even the point of the tweet. The point is it's put up or shut up time for Dame. Because if Dame is a Hall of Famer, we win the title this year. Like flat out. We've got everything. And I don't, and it was a weird thing. And the Bucks interwebs are so stupid. I've been there's been a lot of and because I'm always like a stealth positivity guy, there's been a lot of negativity. So the negativity has really moved on to Brooke or Dame or whoever, because people don't know how to interact with this thing without being toxic. They just don't know how to do it. But it's put up or shut up time for Lillard now, because if he's Damian Lillard, we win the title. But the DJ Augustin version we've been getting of him, the kind of 2022 Van Vliet version of him that we've got, where a lot of these games when he's not nuclear, you just rather have there's gravity and all this kind of stuff. But what all of this has taught us is I don't really want to hear about the gravity stuff too much. I just need performers. When you watch the game and they're guarding him at half court, obviously huge advantage. But we're still going to be talking about the same things that we talked about the last 2 years, which is he doesn't get the calls. If he got the calls, it's the difference for all these guys. It's the difference between Brunson getting those calls and not getting those calls, Kyrie getting those calls or not getting those calls, Luka gets all of those calls. It's just the difference between being unguardable all the time and being unguardable when you're hot. And every NBA player is basically unguardable when they're hot. And I think we were having a podcast last year and my brother was basically it's Malik is having the kind of performances that we feel like Dame should be having. Malik is having the 6 and 9 for 3-pointers every third game kind of games. It seems like Dame was never doing that. And now it's Trent Jr. is kind of that guy in a different kind of way. And it's a weird kind of thing for us as fans, because we remember Lillard sending Russell Westbrook home, making true clutch shots and true clutch shots at the highest level, not the fake Chris kind of shots where it's tied and stuff, making shots down 2, down 1, making shots make it or go home or send the other team home, making these incredibly high leverage shots and making a ton of them, in the bubble, outside of bubble, playoff rounds. We remember the reason Lillard is in the 75 is not because of his numbers. It's because we just remember him making crazy shots. And still there's a lot of games. I feel like every fourth game he kind of is that guy and he wins that game for us, but he's a West Coast player. We're in the East, and it's just he hasn't looked washed enough that we don't have expectations for him. And yeah, he's older, but he doesn't seem that much older. And yeah, sometimes he's been out of shape, but he doesn't seem that out of shape. And then the question is, that we're all left with is he really that good? Because we all thought he was basically, look, I said it on the podcast right when we got him, like when I pulled over and and yelled into my phone that he was 95% of Steph or 90% of Steph or whatever I said. And he's felt like 77% of Steph kind of the whole time. And I'm not even really complaining because watching this team has been so great. But, like, it kind of is what it is at this point. And so, as everyone knows, the stretch now, we're having a big stretch with the Lakers and all these other teams. I would just kind of expect, because, like, if we're in a game with the Lakers and, like, Luka beats us at the end, that's kind of what we always wanted, is to, like, I don't know, to me, like, the hero ball era is over. And it should really, I guess, it should just be Lillard now. The Bucks have been, even in the championship run, at least for me, the Bucks were frustrating because it was like Drew was a hero ball player too. Chris is a hero ball player. And Giannis is Giannis. Or it's a little bit different, but you can still categorize him as that, where he's just going to try to make something incredible. Giannis is going to try to make something incredible happen. Chris is going to try to fade away from 17 feet, like Drew is going to do a step back. And, you know, Portis is going to, like, do an inverted fadeaway from, like, the right block. And so, left block, I suppose. And so it's just like too much. It's like, how do we win? Well, we do hero thing. Brook Lopez is going to catch it and not look at anybody else and shoot in rhythm, right? And so when people are like, you know what, I will take just 30 seconds on the Brook Lopez thing. Brook Lopez took that shot at the end of, what was that, the Rockets game? Like I said, I was at a party having a pretty good time watching that on my phone. But, like, A, what do you want from Brook Lopez? And B, if he'd have passed that, he'd have screwed that up. I used to be, like, a really good shooter. I used to be a really, really good shooter. And at a certain point, because that was kind of in style at the time, I became someone who would jump, like, because I jump really high on a jump shot. And because at a certain point I became more of a passer than a shooter, I would still scan the floor as I was raising up for my jump shot, and I would look for a pass. And a lot of times I'd, like, rifle a pass to somebody underneath as I raised up for, like, a three-pointer and would pass for a layup. That was kind of like one of my key moves. And I never recovered because it made me a worse jump shooter over time, because I never recovered from, like, not looking at the hoop for the last second. But I did think, first of all, Brook Lopez, if he'd have passed that ball to Giannis, would have screwed it up. Somewhere along the way that it got screwed up. That's not something he does. But one of the many reasons I kind of cringe when people are like, oh, the players are so much better. It's like, no, the players can't do anything. Like, Brook Lopez isn't. They turned Brook Lopez into a Terminator of shooting. Like, he's a unthinking, uncaring, unfeeling robot of shooting jumpers. That doesn't make him greater than the last generation. Like, there's no feel for any of this. It's like he catches it. Brook Lopez, if he's back there, catches the ball, and he's like, nobody can block this right now, so I'm going to shoot it. Like, every single time. If someone isn't literally flying in the air at him at the moment that he gathers, he is shooting the ball. And whatever his career, what is he, 35, 36, whatever he is from there, like, that's what he does. That doesn't make him, like, better than the last generation of basketball just because he's decided to, like. And there's a million guys like this. They just took all nuance out of their game, and it's just like, whatever. So I didn't personally blame him. Like, make or miss league, I don't blame people for doing what they do. But like I said, as you've noticed, the hate is now going to him. Where am I going with all this? KPJ. Also so far really, really working. Oh, by the way, on Kuzma, somebody on Real GM said basically he's like tall Dante, and I also agree with that. I think that's a pretty good, like, the can't make any layups Dante and DiVincenzo version. I also kind of agree with that. And Dante was always, most of the time, was like a really positive kind of player too. But mostly just happy thoughts. It was also, do I want to talk? I don't really want to talk about like the righteous anger on the Porter Jr. thing. Because like I share that, right? It was part of the meltdown of that day, that glorious 5th of February. Where people were like, I can't believe we couldn't get more. I can't believe we had to attach AJ to Chris just to get Kuzma. People were like people lied about his value for so long, and then people were like, I can't believe we did this, and now we got this wife beater. And I think it's good to have values, man. I don't endorse it. By the way, like, so there's a weird kind of thing that happens, and I think, do I want to say this? Here's what I'll say. Like Madden way back when, and I just think this is I don't mean to say this in a condescending way, adorable, but like Madden did this one of the times we were threatening to get Derrick Rose, and he was like, I don't want this kind of guy on my team. And I both thought that was so noble. It was equally like noble and privileged. And it kind of spoke to kind of the mindset. And like, obviously, like Frank is the best of this. But like, it spoke to like this kind of privileged mindset where like this, I don't know, like if you go hoop, right? I'm way too old for this kind of stuff now. But like when I hoop, like a lot of times you hoop with upstanding individuals, but if you like just go to Lincoln, if you just go somewhere, you're just playing with the neighborhood, right? Obviously, if you play pickup, and nobody has any assumptions that all of those guys are like good guys, right? Like if you play basketball, if you interact with people, like if you go to a barbershop, if you go anywhere, just anywhere in the world, like high class, low class, middle class, whatever. I just have no assumption. Like I just have to try to be a good person. Have the people under my roof be a good person. I have like no assumption at all. Like it is a very privileged position to think like everybody I interact with is an upstanding citizen. At the same time, I think that's like something sort of to aspire to. So I'm like not. Maybe it sounds like I'm making fun of it. I'm not. Like I think it's sort of great, but it was just like weird. But like, I don't know. I think you just have to look at the sun on this. He did that mess. To me, like in my opinion, right? Like I don't know how controversial. Like somebody was like, "Is a weird," and this wasn't Madden didn't say this, but there was a weird instinct for people to be like, "Oh no, he won the settlement" or something. It's like, dog, come on, come on, buddy. Like, but you know, who was the guy? Where does he end up? Who was the guy for the Bengals? The running back for the Mixon. Like Mixon was on tape. Like again, you're not always watching the best people. To be clear, and we just gotta kind of like there are varying degrees. Like Derrick Rose, you could say maybe, Kobe, you could say maybe, Ray Rice, yes, OJ, yes, Mixon, yes. Who's the guy who ended up on the Hornets? Bridges, one of them Bridges. Yeah, terrible human beings, right? Of course, you hope people get better, but like, what am I, the arbiter of that? He's looked pretty good on the basketball team so far, though. Should probably cut all that out. So all these moves have worked, which generally, like, again, if you follow Wisconsin sports like your whole life, what beef can you really ultimately have with John Horst? Because as much as my objection had been to keeping like the dead weight in the 22 jersey on the team for way, 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 way too long. And I suppose you can say the draft picks haven't always been great. Every deadline, like, the team gets better. Every deadline there's a move, and every deadline I would say generally the team gets better. But like, to me, he was goated after the Lillard thing, which was like, the Lillard thing at the time last year wasn't like what you used to see with like New York teams, where it was like one crazy move. And he didn't make the Butler move, which I generally didn't want, even though that's going to work for a while. And like, we might be looking at Warriors Bucks finals right now. But like, to me, he always makes the good move, and he's worked through this entire timeline. And every time we have some bogus quote, it seems like Giannis still wants to stay forever. So really, how bad a job did Horst do? There's probably more to say. But yeah, this is what I wanted. This is what I want. This is marvelous. Like, people are hustling. And if Doc Rivers was, man, I just think we'll be in a lot more playoff games. I don't think we'll have to. I don't think playoff games will just be a matter of looking at the 3-point. Who shot what from three? Like, it may boil down to some of that, but I think this style of play is conducive to better fans, although the fans are still awful. And I think there's a gravity to. There's a lot of Bucks games over the years where we get down 11, and especially the games Chris was playing. But just be games we get down and we're like, there's no way we're coming. There's like a 1 in 10 chance we're coming back, but there's a decent chance we make it look close by the end. And I think the gravity of our team is like, if we play defense, that like we kind of reel teams in a different kind of way now. And as much as everyone's getting paid, and a guy like Kuzma, it's still nice that you have some people who just thirst for winning, like he played on the Lakers. And he just then got like cast off into the wilderness, and it's nice to have a guy who just really wants to win and just fit in and have the ball bounce off his head as he goes for a layup. So that's I don't know. Is there anything else? That's basically all for the Bucks right now. A plus, like it's become can't miss TV for me. And again, that part, like I'm right about a lot of stuff in my life. Like, it's not so much about me being right, but it's that part has been great. I think I'm gonna stay unspoilered on the Andor trailer. The Andor trailer came out and randomly stumbled across some screenshots of it, but I'm so invested in that I perhaps will do some episodes where like half of the show is Andor if Andor remains good. But like, I saw that trailer. We talked about watching it. The group chat watched it, and I decided we'd do that some other time. The graphs. People have asked about what's to do with these graphs. I figured out how to do the graphs. I kind of like making the graphs, but part of the idea was if I made enough of these bar chart graphs that I could just play them in the background of all of these, and I wouldn't have to find screenshots, but I just have graphs playing. But I got bored with that, so I don't know that I'm really going to make any more. But that's why all of a sudden I have these weird graphs on the timeline. Anything else? I don't know. This is probably sufficient for now. It's old news. It's old news, but the ending of the Wizards game was Chef's Kiss also. And I thought about I like halfway made. Like, I put it on the timeline, and it made me. Sometimes I'll have the computer open. I'll put something on the timeline, and but it's sort of too trolly for me, so I didn't put it out. But I did basically make 3/4 of like Celine Dion, "My Heart Will Go On," when Chris like didn't get rim on that last second shot against the Bullets, which was like just a marvelous ending to that game. Like he turns the ball over in the last 2 minutes, but then he hits a three, but then they clear out to him and he's got 4 seconds and he chucks the ball, and that was fun. Brooke Lopez blocking Middleton like should be a statue somewhere. That that's basically all I gotta say. I'm gonna go to work. Zip it up, zip it out.